Holy shit. Is this really happening? The answer is yes. Welcome. My name is Coach JB. If you haven't been part of my channel, make sure you like, subscribe, comment as well, things you would like to see. So this week has been a series. So if you haven't watched Monday and Tuesday, the last two videos, I highly recommend you check it out. There's a radical transformation in our financial system. And what I've decided to do today is just speak from my logical circuit. I'm just going to free flow this and break down what I think is happening with the financial system. Remember, this is not financial advice. Don't make any moves based on what I say. That'd be absolutely foolish. Do your own research. We have helped over 7,000 warriors worldwide get their shit together since 2020. Down below in the description. Also, you can set up a free consultation with my Index Universal Life team teaching people the infinity banking concept. I'm a licensed insurance agent in 38 states, and I have a team of licensed insurance agents of all over the United States that can help you with the infinity banking concept. We will never ask you to send us money. Those are all scammers. Use discernment. All right, so let's dive into it. So all I'm going to do today is break it down from my logical circuit based on facts, figures, numbers, logic, and the 8 to 9 hours a day of research I've been doing since I was in executive banking school since 2012. I've been breaking this down at a very deep level, trying to understand, not understand, understand at a deep level what is happening. So if I get things wrong, I apologize. I'm just going to break it off the top of my head. I'm going to go all the way back to 1913, and we're going to come up to 2023 in the transformation of our banking system. If you haven't read the book, The Creature of Jekyll Island, pause for just a moment. Go order that book, okay? Creature of Jekyll Island, Richest Man in Babylon, Think and Grow Rich. Okay, what else do we need? Secrets of the Millionaire Mind. Did I say Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And Intelligent Investor. And Becoming Your Own Banker. So pause the video, go back, write all those down. All these books are books you should be reading. So in 1913, we had the Federal Reserve that was created. Now remember, the Federal Reserve is not part of the government. The Federal Reserve's job is to balance out the markets and control the job markets and money flow. Okay. So from 1913 to 1929, we had the Federal Reserve, and I'm just going to do these numbers off the top of my head. In 1929, there was about 6,000 banks that were part of the Federal Reserve, and there was about 16,000 thousands that weren't part of the Federal Reserve. Well, we had a catastrophic collapse in 1929 where our banking system came collapsing down. The stock markets collapsed down. It was called the Great Depression. Well, there was many banks that weren't part of the Federal Reserve, and what they did was they put money into those banks, and they gave loans to the smaller banks, monopolizing the banking system. So write that down for just a moment, which is very similar to what may be happening in 2023. So write that down, the connection between 1929, the banking system, the larger banks monopolizing the smaller banks. So from 1929 till about 1970, the American dream was alive, right? You could get a good pension, you could go to school. If you had an education, you could get a really good job. We had single family homes, parents were having dinner with their kids. You could have a nice American dream. Well, something transferred in 1971 specifically, excuse me. In 1971, we detached from the gold standard. But let me pause for just a moment. Okay, from 1929 to about 1970, people would say that the stock market was like the casino, right? Well, they went through a pretty tough time in 1929. They lost all their money, guys. Okay. So when we went into 1971, President Nixon went on a regular television program information. And our parents were sitting there, and he went on there and said, hey, listen, we're detaching from the gold standard. You need to write this down. We're protecting you from speculators. There's going to be a familiarity to a 2020 to 2023. Okay. So what does that mean? So we detach from the gold standard, making our money fiat, which means fake money. That's what fiat means. It has no backing to it. Now, the true reason why America detached from the gold standard is because we didn't have enough gold to back up the money. But they said they're protecting us from speculators. Write that down to the familiarity to 2023 and the bank starting to collapse. Okay. So in 1971, we detached from the gold standard, and the World Economic Forum was created in 1971. Fun fact, in January 1971. August 1971, we detached from the gold standard. And around 1974, I'm just projecting what I think happened. I don't know this is what they were thinking, but they said, oh shit, we have fake money now. America may lose its dominance as the reserve currency. So what they did was is they built a deal with the Saudis and they started trading all oil in US dollars, which gave America's dollars a dominant force over the globe. So America is the strongest currency in the world, right? So in 1994, they attached all oil traded globally to the US dollar, okay? Giving America its massive amount of dominance. So from 1970 to now, we've had a low interest rate. Well, it's been up and down, but let's stop in 1978. Somewhere around 1976 to 1978, they created what was called the 401k. And even the Godfather, the person who created the 401k, said that he created a product, paraphrasing, that he created a product that allowed Wall Street to become wealthier. So put that in your bank, put that in your memory bank, right? So we had pensions. But if you think about this for just a moment, if you were part of a fake currency system and you're a smart person, you're an accountant, you're looking futuristically for your company 30 to 40 years, would you want to give a pension, pay for the rest of somebody's life in a fake currency that's devaluing every single day? If you look at 1913, when the Federal Reserve was created, that's supposed to balance out the markets, you can see the value of the US dollar just dropping, dropping. So something with the Federal Reserve changed everything, right? Think about that for just a moment. So now in 1978, somewhere around 1916, 1978, they created the 401k, which is a tax code. And there's a tax code called 7702 that you all need to go look up, which was created, I believe, in 1913 around the Federal Reserve, which protects your wealth and you can have tax-free retirement, right? That's why I do the infinity banking concept. Okay. So in 1978, we created what's called the 401k. So you could still go to school, get a good job, get a health insurance, get a 401k. Right? The 401k was designed to keep people poor. Just do your research on how many people retire wealthy with the 401k. So from 1970s, we're not going to go through every single day. 1980s, we had a really high interest rate environment, right? It was, I think, President Reagan, I think it was. We had a high interest rate environment, right? And you can get nice money, nice interest on your savings. And then that came back down. And basically since 1980 to now, there's some bumps up and down there. We had, the dot-com boom, we had the oil boom, all that stuff. Well, we've had a low interest rate environment and money's just been printed like crazy. So we went up to 2009, and this is where I want to start to show you the radical change and transformation our banking system's going through. So if you want to send this video to somebody, this might help a little bit. So we went through a catastrophic collapse in the financial system, in the banking system with the housing market, right? 2006 going into 2008. And there was an interesting dynamic. A company called BlackRock, the largest asset manager in the world, you need to write down BlackRock, was tapped by the Federal Reserve to balance out the markets. So the largest asset manager in the world that has its hand in the largest companies in the world, and most of the products and services, probably this microphone, the computer that I'm using, this phone right here, most products and services that you touch from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to bed are owned by BlackRock's assets that they manage. Okay. So BlackRock was tapped in 2009 to balance 2008, 2009 to balance out the markets. Put that into your thinking cap. Also, the BRICS countries were created in 2009. Brazil, India, Russia, China, South Africa. And now as we sit today, I think Saudi Arabia is working to become part of it. 19 other countries are working to become part of it. So we have the G20 and we have the BRICS, right? So this is where things started to transform with our monetary system. There was another thing that happened in 2009. In 2009, Bitcoin's inception was created. So January 2009, all of a sudden this Bitcoin, this nefarious new financial system was created. And nobody knows who created Bitcoin. Think about that. With all the technology and information, the CIA, all these people that could find anything out, they don't know who created Bitcoin. So write that down for just a moment. Then we fast forward. We came out of this catastrophic collapse. In 2012, there was a big transition happening. Number one, the Mayan calendar ended, which I believe represented the death of the old and the birth of the new. Just my opinion, because it's really interesting how things transitioned so dramatically in 2012. Also, in 2012, Rosie Rios, the 43rd treasurer of the United States, was told, this is her word, she said she was told to reduce coin and cash usage. Well, she had a problem with that because when money is printing freely, gross domestic product goes up and cash and coin usage goes up. So she was simultaneously trying to reduce coin and cash usage, and she's also the last person to sign a $100 bill. So let that sink in, okay? So Rosie Rios was told to reduce coin and cash usage in 2012. The Mayan calendar ended in 2012, the death of the old and the birth of the new, and Obama created his rescue plan in 2012, which basically turned the printing machine on full blast. So we're cruising along from 2012 to 2020. In 2019, the World Economic Forum had a pandemic preparedness response. Interesting, right? Then we hit into 2020, and something you want to write down that I said, and or that Rosie Rios said in 2012, is you need a shock to the system to move consumer behaviors. Write that down. And then boom, March 2020, we had a massive shock to the system. My business got shut down. My whole life got thrown upside down due to a thing called the C word, the beer virus. So as we all look this way, a whole nother narrative was being formed this way, good, bad, or indifferent, belief system, not whatever you believe, is that we had a massive shock to the system that changed consumer behaviors. And let's back up to 2017. In 2017, when I was still in the banking system and getting ready to leave, Jamie Dimon told you that you are a criminal if you create Bitcoin. BlackRock, the head asset manager in the world, Larry Fink, said that it's used for money laundering. So write that down, okay? As we went into 2020, everything started to transfer. We all got let go, let go from our jobs. Everything got shut down globally. Coin and cash usage was reduced because consumer behaviors had changed. Right? America was running out of coins, which was really, really interesting. So we're sitting there in 2020. There was a radical transformation. At the same time, these big asset managers and these big banks are telling you that cryptocurrency is a fraud. Your financial advisor told you cryptocurrency is a fraud. Your tax accountant told you. All they were doing is parroting the elite's information. Okay. Then again, interesting enough, you remember who was tapped in 2008 and 2009 to balance out the markets? BlackRock. BlackRock was tapped again to balance out the markets for America. The Federal Reserve tapped BlackRock to balance out the market. So now the largest asset manager in the world is tapped twice by the Federal Reserve to balance out the markets. So write that down. So then we end up in December 2020. In December 2020, I'll never forget this moment, like the rest of my life. It's a historical moment. December 20th, 2020, there was a case initiated by the SEC against Ripple that XRP was a security, putting the brakes on cryptocurrency. The third largest crypto on market cap was deemed a security by the SEC, and it started this whole vicious, long, drawn out process. So from 2020 to 2022, we were in this weird case, and then we head into 2022. Pay attention. We had the bull run. They pulled back. The elites were buying the dip. And in 2022, they wanted to prove to you that cryptocurrency is unsafe and it's fraudulent and we need regulation. So we had Celsius collapse, FTX collapse, and a stable coin collapsed. Okay. Key factor. On the back end of 2022, MicroStrategies, the largest holder of Bitcoin, increased their position in Bitcoin on the back end of 2022 as everybody was looking this way at the FTX. Okay. Then as we go into 2023, this is critical. Okay. The largest asset manager in the world that was tapped by the Federal Reserve twice to balance out the markets increased their position in MicroStrategies, that increased their position in Bitcoin on the back end of 2022 and first quarter 2023. Vanguard and BlackRock, the largest asset managers in the world, increased their position in MicroStrategies. Wow, interesting, right? And all of a sudden, the banks start to bail in. Oh, 2012, I forgot. The bank bailing committee was created in 2012, which is interesting. And in 2012, we had our first couple bank bail-ins. Interesting enough, just like 2019-29, the larger banks were monopolizing the smaller banks. So JP Morgan was tapped to take over First Republic, and you're going to start to see more of that as we head into 2023. So interesting, right? So your banks are in a liquidity crisis. America's at 120% debt to income ratio. 33% of our debt is held outside the United States. We have horrible policies going on right now. I don't know. You can talk about our leadership or whatever they're doing, whatever. We're in a really, really bad position. But there is a solve, a hero called distributed ledger technology, on-demand liquidity, real-time payments, money moving at the speed of light, just like ISO moving messaging at the speed of light. Then July comes along. FedNow Services decides to launch in July. That was their date. Well before we knew anything about Ripple and the XRP case settling or anything being deemed a non-security. So FedNow Services launches July 2023. And at the same time, days before, we get Judge Torres ruling that XRP is no longer a security. Now, there's going to be an appeal process, but that's just the slowing down of the monetary system and the adoption. So now here we are in July 2023. FedNow Services launches real-time payments, on-demand liquidity. Cryptocurrency was a fraud in 2017, and Larry Fink now says it's an international thing for trading. They're increasing their position in MicroStrategies. So your financial advisor, remember, we wrote this down, and your tax accountant told you cryptocurrency is a fraud in 2017, 2018, 2009, 2020, and the largest asset manager in the world is heavily getting exposure to it and also applied for a Bitcoin ETF. And when they applied for a Bitcoin ETF, it was approved by the SEC to go through the process, and all the other people are approved to go through the process now. Do you see the patterns? Do you see what's happening? This is a radical transformation, and holy shit, this is really, really happening. This is nothing new under the sun. This is nothing to fear. Change is inevitable. You're heading into a brand new monetary system. And by the time you're up and running and people are still telling you crypto's a fraud, they're going to be operating on blockchain technology and not even knowing it. Just like you have no idea how this system works inside your phone and you still use it, people are going to be using the monetary system and they're going to be using blockchain technology and not have any idea. Here's the caveat. As the middle class is getting wiped out, leverage source technology moving down to the working poor. The normal everyday person cannot buy a house anymore because of interest rates and the prices of houses and inflation. And we're heading into a crazy, crazy world in 2024 to 2025 as they continue to raise interest rates and destroy the middle class. And what's going to be the savior is universal basic income. It's going to be done on FedNow services, and that's how everybody's going to download their wallet. They're going to need money, which is going to pump liquidity into the banks and move money at the speed of light. And within 5 to 6 years, you're going to be in a brand new monetary system. You're going to be complaining about the same shit over and over again. You're going to be worried about whether Jamie Foxx is cloned or not and not focused on your actions and behaviors. And some of you are going to use discernment. And you're going to discipline and consistent for a long enough period of time to rewire the foundation to change the situation. There is no invisible enemy, guys. This is nothing new under the sun. There's some bad policies in our monetary system, and they're switching it. They're going to change it up, and money's going to move really fast. And the things you're complaining about right now, you're not going to complain about. Everybody's saying that, they're going to, I'm not going to use a central bank. You're not going to have a choice. When you can't feed your family, you don't have money because you didn't innovate and you didn't move into the new technology. You don't have money because you don't have a job. You might use your central bank digital currency to put food on the table. Or you can make decisions. You can invest in these new, and I'm not supporting CBDCs, please understand, but you're fighting an invisible enemy. And we've been fighting invisible enemy for a long time, guys. Nobody's coming to save you. It doesn't matter what president comes back. It's your actions, your behaviors, your discipline, your consistency in the beginning is the end. So 2023, here we sit, July 2023. We're going to go through the radical transformation of our financial system. And some people are going to get really, really wealthy in crypto. But the fact is, most of them are going to lose it. The reason why is because they don't have a foundation and they haven't rewired the situation, rewired the foundation to get a new situation. That's why 85% of lottery winners go broke. That's why most pro athletes, when they get big contracts, end up broke. So what would I be doing right now? What I'm doing is I'm working harder on myself than I do anything else. I'm building solid relationships with my family. I'm building a foundation of principles. My principles for business are integrity, honesty, and uncompromising belief in God. I create an ecosystem so I can preach God and I can preach the following or the teachings of Jesus within my company, and everybody can be exactly how they want. And in my personal life, it's peace, freedom, and family structure. If anything disrupts my peace, freedom, or family structure, it's a hard no. I don't care how much money you offer me. And I develop those principles. I follow God. I walk the life of Jesus as close as humanly possible. I'm not perfect. I'm perfectly flawed. I pull the log out of my eye before I pull the straw out of your eyes. So I say I love you to all my haters. I understand that in the beginning is the end. It's my actions, my behaviors, my decisions, my consistency, which creates my freedom. I follow a couple commandments. Number 1 is the golden rule. Treat others as you want to be treated. Number 2 is love God with all your heart and love humanity as you love God. And I make good decisions every single day, and that's how I live my life. So I hope that information reaches you well. I will continue to study as much as I can to connect the logical circuit, to bring information to people, to help demystify this complex strategy. But I'll tell you what, this is the greatest time in human history. and it's going to get pretty wild. And I hope that you find love. I hope that you find peace. And I hope that you transform your family's life in the next 24 months. As we always say, warriors, rise, get your shit together. Let's go. Love you guys.